Well, I think
You don't have a USB.
no, I have USB. It's against their security policy.
It's brand new. Is that,
No,
check it before I put stuff on it.
Yeah, Chuck does not let us put any thumb drive into any computer. I'm not gonna get yelled at by that person, so.
Don't blame me. Yeah, we're not allowed to use them either unless they're brand new. So it's like, I'll just buy a new one.
Yeah, no, Chuck, not even brand new ones. Chuck's like, no USB, so I was gonna try to figure out a way where we could.
Yeah, you just let me know how you need all those, because I think there's over 100 documents on there.
Yeah. I can give you the flash,
Fundraising.
I can give you the flash drive back,
Oh,
and that way you can
do you
just.
have an approved one? You can give that to me. Oh, I don't know. I don't know how it works.
No, I have just the one that you gave me sitting on my desk.
Okay.
So I think what I'll have to do is probably work with someone on the, in the permit center to create like a box file and you can just upload it.
Council member was trying to call in. I think he thought that the tour was.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Ian, Ian, and got priced down, so we're
oh, he says yes, so I don't know what that,
down on Rainier, kind of just
I gave him the number to call.
right by where the light rail
Well, I'll wait till it rains.
stop.
Yeah.
That goes in kind of the central. district.
Okay, we are at 5 o'clock.
We're rolling on this.
So, let's see, we will call this meeting to order. And do I do roll call?
Oh, I can. So,
Okay.
Councilmember Davis,
Present?
Councilmember Fullerton. Chair
Present.
Fullerton, and Councilmember Clymans is going to call in, but he is not called in yet.
Mhm. Okay. And I did not see any changes to the minutes. So
Okay.
I didn't make any changes. So that's the approval of the minutes. Do we vote to approve the minutes?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so do you vote to, motion to approve the minutes?
Second?
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Okay. All right, minutes are approved. And then we don't have any department reports or presentations, so we'll go straight to the discussion action items. So we are at AB 24-41, Resolution 24-41, Relight Washington Grant. And
And with that, I will turn it over to Drew, who is our assistant city engineer, who is leading this effort, of Public Works.
oh, there's Kelly. Nice to meet you. This is Councilmember Davis, and I think Councilmember McClymonds is on the phone.
Councilmember McClymans? All right, you are on and live.
Councilmember McClymonds is now present and accounted for. We are going to go over AB 24-41, Resolution 24-41, which is Relight Washington Grant Agreement. And we have Drew making a presentation or an explanation for us.
Sure. Okay. So this is the Relight Washington Grant Agreement with the Washington State Transportation Improvement Board. In 2024, the city of Bonney Lake was selected for the Relight Washington Grant Program with grant funding approved in the amount of $157,500 to convert standard tree lights to LED lighting to reduce municipal electrical costs. The project will convert approximately 450 Schedule 53 HPS streetlights to energy efficient LED streetlights. The estimated municipal electrical cost savings total $40,000 when the conversions are complete
That's per year.
per year.
Mhm.
Puget Sound Energy will facilitate the streetlight conversions, supply the LED fixtures, and perform the streetlight conversion work. The conversion will include removing the existing HPS fixtures and installing the new LED heads on existing arms and using the standard GE Evolve LED overhead. PSE is estimating approximately 100 LED conversions per week and an approximate 1 month project duration. And the administrative recommendation is authorize the mayor to sign the grant agreement. Any questions?
So it's gonna be like a 1 month project and it will be, they'll be doing 100 per week.
Approximately, that's what they're estimating.
Okay. And when does this begin if this is approved?
Well, there's still a process that the city has to go through with PSC. We need to bring them in, talk about their right-of-way permit, talk about the traffic control plans, look at their schedule. And, but I mean, they're ready to go. So we can, I anticipate, we would have them in this month to talk about all that stuff before they got going.
Okay. Would they come to the CDC meetings or would they just be speaking with staff?
They'd be speaking with our staff.
Okay, perfect. And so this is a zero cost and does not require a budget item.
Correct.
Okay. Do you have any questions, Councilmember Davis?
No questions for me, so.
It looks good to me. The Councilmember McClymans, do you have any questions on this? So I did ask a strange question of Mr. Sullivan the other day. I said, does this have anything to do with 15-minute cities?
I'm not familiar with 15 cities. I'm not sure
That's what I needed to hear. Okay, well, so what we, apparently I'm the only one that knows anything about that. Okay, so we have this new paperwork. Do we want to
Yeah, so if you,
proceed to put this on a consent agenda so that what would you like to ask that happens?
given this is,
This seems
and-
like a no-brainer.
yeah, and no cost to the city,
Yeah.
just taking money from one agency and shifting it to another
Mhm.
with a resulting $40,000 yearly benefit to the city, I would request that we just put it on the consent agenda.
Okay. Councilmember McClymans, are you okay with putting this on the consent agenda?
He's right behind you.
Please. Oh, hello. Are you okay? Did you hear any of that?
I heard most of it, yeah.
So this is zero cost, no budget. They're going to, it'll save us $40,000 a year. And so they're just asking, if we can proceed. So I think this could go on the consent agenda.
There are no strings attached,
We have to switch out the lights.
but we're not doing that.
No, they're.
PSC is.
CSC is doing it, yeah.
Okay,
So they can win.
all right.
When-
So consent agenda for, May 14th.
14th.
And then Councilman Sheriff Fullerton, I'll get with you after the meeting to have you initial the one in my book so that I can.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on. We are now at, do you read these? You were gone, or do I read them? The AB 24-48 ordinance, D 24-48 sewer pre-treatment regulations. And I believe we've got Andrea.
Yep.
Is that the correct pronunciation? Okay.
So I'll do a little bit of a lead in and I'll turn it over, let everybody know who's here. We can answer questions. We do have a number of things on the agenda, so I'm going to keep my eye on the clock. And, as we've been briefing the committee, we are required to adopt pre-treatment standards that are at least as stringent as the current regulations being adopted by the city of Sumner. In order to, as part of the permit that's required by Sumner to continue to operate the wastewater treatment facility. As part of the interlocal agreement that the city signed in January 2024, the city did agree to adopt rules and regulations that govern, regulate, and control the discharge of non-domestic wastewater to the Sumner wastewater treatment plant that at least as stringent as the current pre-treatment regulations being adopted by the city of Sumner. At the last CDC meeting, we did talk about, we were initially proposing to just adopt it by reference, but after reading the full length of the ordinance and also conferring with the city attorney's office, we felt it would be better to adopt it into our municipal code because there were some tweaks that we needed to make to differentiate between the different directors and who has which role. And so the way the ordinance is set up is these regulations would be adopted as Chapter 1314 in the Bonney Lake Municipal Code. Under the interlocal agreement and also the way that the regulations are developed, the council identified the city of Sumner as the city's agent for both enforcement and application and technical expertise as it relates to these codes. So the city of Sumner is the one that's kind of be carrying the ball on the enforcement, permitting, inspection side of this through our identifying them as our agent through the interlocal agreement. We do have Andrea here, who is the leading person at Sumner in charge of the pretreatment program. Jay Swift, who is the consultant who's also an expert in pretreatment. Michael Kosa, who is the public works director for the city of Sumner, and Ken Gill, who's our city engineer. These are our technical experts and should be able to answer any questions that the committee has. From a timeline, we're not expecting the council to take action on this next week. If they did, that would be great. We've built in some extra time so the council can chew on this one a little bit more. So what we propose is to go to full council issues on May 14th. And that would give the council till May 28th to actually do the adoption. So there would be a couple of times before we're actually asking for the vote. So with that, if you have any questions, I will turn it over to the experts. I admit this is the one area I'm not an expert on, so I will look to the experts. One of, I guess.
So, my question is, are most of our businesses already in compliance with what the regulations are, so that there's not going to be a big, huge transition once this kicks in? And there won't be like huge expenses to our businesses?
Yeah, a lot of the non-domestic, the folks that are producing non-domestic wastewater right now, they're already generally compliant. And if there was things that needed to be added or incorporated into a control document, would be best management practices at first, It's unlikely that a huge percent, and as I'm going through the industrial user survey or the non-domestic wastewater survey now, I'm not finding a significant number of categorical industrial users that have no treatment. A lot of the folks who are producing the dangerous waste streams, they're getting it hauled off site. They already kind of know what they need to do with it. And so we've found some significant industrial or categorical industrial users that are not discharging to sewer. And other than that, they're all going to be minor industrial users. So as we roll out the control documents, it will be best management practices, and then payment and load treatment a lot of the times works for this loading that is easily treated by us at the treatment plant, but is really expensive to them. So like the biological oxygen demand or total suspended solid, they could put in some really fancy filtration system. However, we'll identify what levels that we can take and treat, and then they would just pay to treat it, so that the citizens are no longer paying for that treatment. So in a lot of cases, that's what it'll look like. There won't be a lot of but for the new businesses, I can't say, because you guys are developing this industrial park, which is a great opportunity. And with that, there may be opportunities for businesses that do have a non-domestic waste that will need to be treated.
So I was thinking that in order to be in compliance, you have to have the equipment to prevent harmful chemicals and waste to come into the treatment plant. But now I'm hearing you say we can kind of pay.
No, well,
The businesses can pay to have it treated at the plant.
right. So there's a difference between like the really harmful pollutants of concern and pollutants that are just slightly over like a domestic concentration loading, right? So the two that I mentioned are the only two that we really allow payment in lieu of treatment, the biological oxygen demand and the total suspended solids. Those are kind of like the food for the bug.
Those are the high strength dischargers. Yeah, high strength dischargers. That's treatable at the municipal wastewater treatment plant.
So maybe
Section
explain what
15,
total
yeah.
suspended solids is or what those terms mean.
Sure, total suspended solids are just the solids that are in your waste stream. So it's the concentration milligrams per liter of solids. Once you filter the sample, and so that's the suspended is the particulate in there. Biological oxygen demand is it's basically the food concentration, the amount of if the waste were put in a vat with bacteria, it's the amount of oxygen they would consume. So it's basically the concentration of food, so to speak, for bugs in there. And so those are parameters that the wastewater treatment plant in Sumner is rated for, like every other treatment plant. They can accept that. And if it's a really high strength, high concentration or high loading coming from that, then there's parameters for the cities to put on additional charges because there are additional costs to that. But there's also other sorts of pollutants that are toxic to either treatment plant.
Like the mercury from the dentist.
Yeah, mercury, lead and cadmium and et cetera. And those are, precluded from coming into the sewer above concentrations that are in the ordinance. And so you've got limits for lead and mercury and cadmium and some of those, for instance, if a discharger is unable to meet those concentrations, then they have the option of either like containerizing them and hauling them off or treating to meet those standards.
Okay.
And typically the regulations apply to all the sources of non-domestic wastewater, but as far as who has to routinely test for them, it's only the significant industrial users that have to do that. And those are designated as such by the city of Sumner as the control authority. And there's a few criteria. One is if they discharge more than 25,000 gallons a day, they discharge more than 5% of the capacity of the plant. If they're a special category of discharger called the categorical industrial user, or if they're deemed to have a regional potential to impact the plant or collecting system or other sort of deleterious impacts.
Okay.
And we did a study over it's been almost a decade, but 2016, we started collecting data.
Oh, right.
So we did a study that,
I have that in my packet.
yeah, so it's table 331, it's -1, and it's in 1314 330 local limits. So, let me give you a page number, 24.
Is that 24 of the document?
I think this is what you're looking at. So page 24 of the
Okay, so that would
Okay.
be,
regulations.
it would be page 44 of the packet.
Thank you. And those are the local limits that we've identified. Those are the levels that we've said that we can take from industries. And so that's what they'll be seeing in the permit. So if they've got levels below this, they don't have to put in treatment. If they do go beyond this, then they would have to treat to remove. And I wanted to also point out the provisions in section, it's almost the very last page of these regulations, those 74. I don't know what page it is in your packet. But that's where we talk about high strength user charges and fees and our options there. And it's just basically saying, 94, this treatment plan was designed to treat domestic wastewater from bathrooms that are residential users. And those loadings are this to this. Anything beyond there, up to a point, we can take extra but you have to pay for it.
I don't have a page 94.
No, it's of the packet, 74 of the ordinance,
Oh.
of the,
74?
yeah, so in the big letters, it says page 74, and then in the little numbers, it's page 94, right there.
So
Yes, ma'am.
just kind of wanted to uh, bring, attention
Prices on
to
this?
there. No, we
Oh.
still haven't developed those yet. We're kind of, that's a much longer process because we want to make sure it's fair and, it covers the cost to treat and the citizens aren't, paying for anything. So we're going to go through a study and figure out the right tiered or the right fee structure. But those are the two places that are relevant to those questions that you just asked.
All right. That's all my
So
questions.
Andrea, do you have an example of what one of those big users might be? I mean, what kind of a use is that?
Yeah. So, in your surface area, a significant industrial user, you do have a machine shop that it would be identified as a categorical industrial user. They're not discharging to sewer right now because they're not connected. And they actually don't have a discharge because they do haul away the oils and the cutting oils and the stuff that's really nasty. But they are an example of one. Then we have a seafood processor. They discharge in Sumner, they discharge, over that 25,000 gallon threshold. What are some examples of more smaller facilities that, because you'd know if you had someone that's discharging 25,000, it's going to be a big industry.
What about
Yeah, it's not McDonald's.
Yeah, car washes are not a significant industrial user unless if it were some huge facility that had more than 25,000 gallons, it would be, but no, car washes are not.
And that Costco.
Not typically, would not typically.
And so they would be issued a control mechanism because, the car wash would need, the car wash does have a treatment system and it has a oil water separator and they do need to maintain that device so that the pollutants that they're capturing don't bypass the device. So we will use a control document, a permit, to make sure that they know, hey, annually, you got to get that cleaned out, or you got to be monitoring it because you might have to clean it out for every 6 months, or, it could go the full year per manufacturing recommendations. But we need that control document to make sure that they are maintaining those devices in a way that prevents anything bypassing into your collection system and then into our treatment plant.
So the focus is on those really big users, although minor industrial users and other folks, like car wash will still
Yeah.
regulate. They'll get a lot less oversight. Really,
Right.
the big ones, like a metal manufacturer, we have a industrial baking company down in Sumner is one of the other major ones. They use a lot of water to do a lot of their baking. Those are the ones that fall into this category of significant, but everyone's a minor industrial.
Yeah, we'll have quite a few minor industrial users that are issued control documents, letter of discharge, just to say, hey, we know you have the state requires us to authorize any source of non-domestic wastewater to our treatment plant and make sure that you guys are managing it per state and federal regs. And so here's our contact. This is my face. This is your control document. These are your obligations. They're not going to be anything beyond what they already know that they have to do with most places. The kidney dialysis center is another MIU because they use an RO system, a reverse osmosis system to generate the ultra filtered water that they need. Now, those RO systems, they create a backwash. 90% of the water that they put through is returned back as a backwash water. And that's heavily concentrated minerals potentially in it. We would for someone like them, we just ask, hey, give us some baseline data. You're likely, it depends on what kind of water distribution system you're getting it from, but in 9 times out of 10, they're fine. We just ask for that baseline data, and then they just are required every permit cycle to just tell us, hey, no changes. We haven't added way more water as an example, like what is it, a marble cutter, you know, we've got a lot of those,
Countertop.
countertop fabricator. Sorry, I'm doing some demo and remodeling at my house and I don't know why countertops popped out of my brain. But, you know, they're gonna be cutting, they're gonna be creating a slurry, in their waste stream. And, but sometimes they don't have those water jet tables, but a lot of times they'll add them and they won't let the city know. So now we have this waste stream being generated. And so establishing that MIU permit or letter of discharge just lets them know that, you know, every so often you got to check in. We got to make sure you haven't added anything new that now makes you a categorical industrial user.
So why now?
Yeah, good question. We've met we're now the size, we're now, we've, a design capacity over 5 MGD, the treatment plant is, so,
You were, the cities were issued a new permit, 3 years ago, 21, that obligated the cities to develop a pretreatment program. Ecology's been,
So this is the state ecology.
right, the EPA is making the states do it, and starting in the 70s, kind of this program got started, the pretreatment program. And the state is increasingly pushing this off onto the cities and municipalities.
So how is this gonna change what actually gets treated?
You know, it probably won't have a real big impact. It's frankly, it's more preventative. In that, you know, I don't think, you know, based on the monitoring that's been done of the influent coming into the treatment plant, there's not a real high concentration of, you know, toxic metals. There's not like a lot of solvents in the waste stream, that kind of thing. The concentrations of the BOD and TSS that we talked about are pretty typical. So it's not gonna have a big impact on that. So in that respect, it's more preventative. And, you know, I've seen new dischargers come into cities and discharge things that have caused a lot of problems for the receiving water or the treatment plant. And so in that respect, you know, it's more preventative.
So how much do the permits cost?
we haven't, developed the fee structure yet.
Yeah, under the interlocal agreement, we as the city would not necessarily be issuing the permit. As part of the interlocal agreement, the city council identified Sumner as the agent for permitting and enforcement and regulatory control. So what we would do is that we would have people have to work directly with Sumner for whatever that.
And it'll
Sort
be
of
based on,
exemptions and exceptions are available.
I think anybody who is connecting, from my reading of the ordinance, and Andrea, correct me if I'm wrong, if you're a non-domestic wastewater user, before you connect to the sewer system, you would have to have that control document approved by the city of Sumner.
Would this also be part of the joint advisory committee, the JAC? Would this be brought into those meetings?
I think as it rolls out and it begins to operate, yes, it would be a topic that would be subject to JAC conversations, because it is related to the operation of the wastewater treatment plant. It is also a component of the interlocal agreement.
Yep.
And the purpose of the JAC was to also make sure that we are implementing the interlocal agreement consistent with the interlocal agreement. So I would say, unless Michael, you have a different opinion,
No,
I definitely believe that this would be, as this rolls out, and if there are issues or concerns, it definitely would be right for a JAC conversation.
I mean, it's a wastewater treatment discussion between the two cities.
Okay,
That's, I think, why we created the JEC.
so we can discuss maybe pricing on some of these things, how much these permits are gonna cost, or is that?
yeah, as we do the study, you know, as we look into what fee structure is best for us, is whether it's a tier system, you know, basically if you got this and this, then you're in here and that's your fee. As we go through that, you know, we'll share information. And I just wanted to, you know, reassure you that we would base like permit fees, you know, off of the time that it takes us to review data, review their application, and we want to capture that cost. So again, the citizens aren't paying for it. So, you know, the bigger they are, the more expensive it's going to be, but the more standard routine ones, it's going to be much more cost, or it'll be much more cost effective, or it'll be less than a bigger one, obviously. And the point I was gonna make just popped right out of my head, but we're not here, we're not making money off of it. I think
Yeah.
it's what I'm trying
Okay.
to say is that we're trying to be fair. We just want to make sure that the treatment plan is protected and that the citizens aren't paying their cost to do business, you know, paying
Mhm.
to remove these pollutants that they're adding. We're just asking them to keep it out.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I guess.
So, members Fullerton and Davis,
Mhm.
you know, I look at this and I see this as a mandate from the state. It's a definite, in my mind, another layer of bureaucracy that our businesses are gonna have to carry a burden for.
Mhm.
And then we're also relinquishing as a council responsibility for controlling burden. So, you know, I find those things very unpalatable.
Mhm.
Right? But we don't have a choice to have a pre-treatment policy, right? Is what I heard. And that it's because we're a new permit, but it's like, you know, we're gonna include in our code, we're gonna hand over the fee structure, the enforcement, the contact to another municipality,
Mhm.
right? It kind of makes sense because you're running the sewer system, right? I mean, but on the other hand, it's like, we're abdicating that. We are the last row
Mhm.
between the bureaucracy and a citizen.
Yeah.
Right, and we're supposed to make policy, so I just don't really know what to do about this stuff.
Yeah. The only
Really
thing that I'm thinking is that, you know, we have the joint advisory committee, which we, as the CDC, are the members of that. And so we can bring complaints and things that we hear from citizens and take it to Sumner. We can take it to the treatment plant. This is like the reason why I asked my specific question is what is the impact on the businesses? It sounds like most of our businesses are already in compliance and they're not looking to change the requirements. It's just that it went from being a state bureaucracy where we had zero control to now it's down to a local. And now we have our joint advisory committee, so we actually have more ability to work with the city of Sumner and kind of adjust those fees and the requirements as best we can. So I think we're actually getting more control by making it local, whereas before it was run by the state's Department of Ecology. So
Yeah,
I
but
think
there
this.
weren't permit before. Right?
Yeah,
Yes,
we've had
there
an
have been
NPDES permit.
there's been water treatments that all of our very expensive water treatments that they have had to put into the businesses in order to prevent the grease, the fats from going.
Car wash.
Yeah.
And as you guys have developed as you develop the industrial park, you'll see more of those. It's in requirement.
And as our businesses are actually being upgraded, because a lot of our businesses out here, these are old buildings. So most of those have never been updated probably since the 70s. So then when a new business comes in and takes over that space, then they have to pay to get all of the grease traps and the you know, the treatment equipment that they need in order to be in compliance. So hopefully
So
we
the
can even
state
make
was administering a pre-treatment program?
and Pierce County as well.
And
Yeah.
Pierce County?
Yeah.
So my question is kind of, so with those other pre-treatment plans already in place, do we have some kind of just like estimated fee structure that it would be in? Or have there been any studies to like a comparable size cities or, you know, sewer treatment plant that we could have some type of idea what the fee structure would be going forward?
We did a staffing resource analysis, to estimate, costs for the overall program. Actually did that, about a little over a year ago, year and a half ago or so. So we do have that, but as far as allocating the cost, and the fee structure, you have a lot of discretion. The cities have quite a bit of discretion, in how they do that. Some municipalities put it all on their industries and businesses. Others put it all on the ratepayers, and others are somewhere in between. So you have a lot of discretion, and some have, some fund it through these sorts of strength fees and that kind of thing is a big funder. So you have quite a bit of options, and that's kind of detailed in our study that we did.
So Michael, I'd like to ask you, I mean, do you think, as you guys develop this fee structure before it's presented to the council levels, would Sumner be on board of bringing that fee structure to the JAC
Oh, yeah.
and letting kind of the JAC have the first chew on it?
I think that seems relatively reasonable to, I mean, this is the group of people that really are most interested.
Mhm.
So we appreciate the guidance of.
Yeah, we
the
would
smaller
that
group.
Do we need to put that in our interlocal agreement then?
That's already in the way the JAC is set up. It's more of my, I guess, getting commitment from my counterpart in Sumner that before they run off down the street, they'll circle through the JAC.
I mean,
Yeah.
But the JAC is already set up to look at cost and fees and operational issues. That was the kind of the intent, which we've never had before. So it is important to
Right.
understand that in the past, there was never a JAC.
Yeah.
And so that is, I guess, the effectiveness of the JAC will be determined by the engagement of the members.
Mhm.
If the members aren't engaged, it won't be as effective as if the members are engaged.
And I want to point out one thing that, because I'm very, we took a lot of time and we were very deliberate in developing this whole program. And we didn't have to name it the joint pretreatment program, but I'm really adamant about making this a joint collaborative effort between two agencies that use a utility. It's a partnership. This is a collective, collaborative effort, and that's why we named it the Joint Pretreatment Program.
Mhm.
And so it's not going to be, us just making decisions. We're going to work together. We're going to, I'll, be sharing information and getting input and insight. So I do love that we were able to name it the Joint Pretreatment Program, because it is important that it's a partnership and a collaborative effort.
Mhm.
To me, and
Yeah.
I think to everyone here.
So are there gonna be some metrics that are gonna be available, like the contact of the businesses and the standard business processes that they're gonna be? All this is already in place, and so that none of this is gonna surprise any of them. That's what I got. from the
It's-
utility.
yeah,
It's a high level of engagement, but
Right.
not a lot of
Okay.
new stuff.
They're gonna be able to have a local contact now versus having to try to go through the bureaucracy of going through the Department of Ecology to get their permits and everything. So now they have a local face. They can take complaints to them as well. And, Andrea will be able to work with them, to, like, they can make payments or whatever.
Yeah,
There's,
outside of the
Yeah.
fee stuff, but we're here to be a resource to them as they
Yeah.
make their way through this compliance journey.
A lot of it is about education,
Mhm.
and making sure that people
Mhm.
understand, hey, you dump something down the drain, that there's ramifications to, what's downstream, the treatment plant, goes to a pump station. There can be, infrastructure that's damaged. So
Mhm.
if we can give them that information, which is something that, by having our own program, we'll be able to have, a really local contact, and with the mindset of, we want this to be better for the cities, both cities' treatment plant. Our goal is to make it better for for, you know, the downstream condition, which it saved us all money.
Yeah.
So
The
that's
collection
why,
system too.
yeah, it's gonna be much better than the state run program
Yeah.
because they're gonna have that kind of local contact and the ability to have, you know,
Mhm.
positive, you know, as opposed to a letter writing campaign with the
Yeah,
Department of Ecology,
right.
you know,
we
Andrea's
were
gonna be
just
there to pick up
another-
the phone.
Yeah, we were just another treatment plant to them, but this is our
Yeah.
shared treatment plant. These are our, like, you know, our bugs, our babies. And the treatment plant that we've got to contact, this is our collection system that costs a lot of money to maintain.
Yeah.
And if we can get the business to keep out what we're having to remove anyways, it really reduces costs of maintenance in a collection system. Not to mention, you know, removing the cost to remove it at the treatment plant, like wipes and other debris that we're just putting in the landfill, and they could have just put it in their trash can. So,
What's the additional staff that's required?
good question.
Yeah, we, you know, our study estimated that, let me see, I think it was 2.5 total FTEs to 2.75 total FTEs.
Yeah, and at the time, you know, now that we're calculating now that we're analyzing the results of the most recently performed industrial user survey, which because we were able to get into Bonney Lake and get a lot more of the surveys completed, we have a better understanding. It's still around that, but it's increased, you know, it's 2 to 3.
So the goal right now, what we're telling Sumner administration is that, you know, Andrea is, you know, 100% on staff as a pretreatment staff member. We have the need for a pretreatment technician, which will be another person that will be in the field that will be assisting Andrea as the program ramps up, and then we're going to evaluate as we go. We think we might be able to make it with just 2 staff members to cover both cities. We will consider that it might need to go to 3. It just really depends, but we're not looking beyond 3. That's, you know, the outer realm of possibility, but our hope is to run it with 2 folks. And it really just depends on how much work there ends up needing to be with our, you know, how much outreach we need to make, and then how simple compliance is if we're meeting the metrics we need to meet. You know, to say we're making the contacts we need to make, we're reviewing the documents. So we're not going to go out there and hire 12 people. It's, you know, we're looking at getting probably 1 person that will be mostly our field person with Andrea, mostly doing the permit work and the letters of discharge and a lot of that. That's our expectation right now. And I think that's pretty well in line with our staffing study that was done. But we were required to do in order to get the program up and running. That was a Department of Ecology requirement.
So shall we gotta move on, but, of course, it
Thank
was
you.
recommended that we do full council
Thank you.
discussion. And then we can, so that was for May 14th for next week.
Yeah, and Jay and Andrea and Michael will be at that full council discussion as well.
We're on team, we're on your team.
And so are you okay with taking it to
Sure.
full council? I think this is definitely one that needs to go there.
Yep.
And how about you, Councilmember
Yep.
Davis?
Yes,
Okay,
yep.
great. So we're gonna go ahead and put that on for May 14th onto full council issues and have further discussion with that.
And if you could talk with the fellow council members, it will come on as a motion because that's how everything comes on as full council items, but we're not expecting a vote on May 14th. We're expecting discussion
Yeah.
and then probably a vote on May 28th.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your time. And then we are now moving on to AB 24-31, Resolution 24-31, Allen York Park Boat Trailer Parking.
So, as you know, when we built Ball Field 5, we took out the boat trailer parking. And this contract would basically be the design contract to design a new boat trailer parking yard on the old City Hall site. We did put some background information in here. Between 1985 and 2005, only the area in front of Ball Field 4 is what we had for boat trailer parking. And there was about 25 to 30 spaces in there. Between 2017 and 2020, we used both the area in front of ball field 4 and the area that is now ball field 5. Beginning in 2021, and so between 2017 and 2020, I'm sorry, that's when we used just the area ball field 5. And it had about 41 stalls in there. Since 2021, we've only been using the area in front of ball field 4, which has about 26 spaces. In 2021, there was also a desire for, or 2022, I'm sorry, the council desired us to look at converting ball field 4 itself into boat trailer parking. And in May of last year, there was a conversation about whether or not that process should continue. There was concerns related to the loss of that field for girls softball. And also the council's really preferred location at that meeting discussed being on the old city hall site. The current contract is split into 2 phases. One phase would give us what we call 30% engineering. So we kind of know how much grading we'd have to do, how much cost it would do. And then we would put in a budget request for the construction as part of the biennial budget. And if that were approved, we would go to final design. So we wouldn't spend all of the design money until we knew the council was also approving the construction side of it. But we need to do some design work to understand what realistically that construction cost looks like. We are proposing to basically reappropriate the money that was already in the budget. So in the budget, there was a little over $500,000 that was budgeted for the field 4 conversion to boat trailer parking. We're proposing to use about $400,000, and that would take us from nothing to full design bid package award. But we would stop after 30% engineering, so we could do cost estimates. Leslie and I are also going to try to hopefully apply for a grant that might help with the construction cost. We don't know if we'll get the grant, but this would allow us to also support that grant and create about 52 boat trailer parking lot stalls on the old city hall site.
52.
Yeah.
Is that not a lot or that's a
That's a
lot?
lot.
Yeah.
We could always reduce it. We were just told that
How many were in the original parks plan? I went to look for that.
there wasn't any original parks plan.
Well, no, there was on the,
In that
It was-
wetlands.
yeah, it was in the
That we can't
wetlands,
use,
right?
yeah.
No, I don't
I think it was
remember.
only 12.
Yeah, I think that was only 12.
Yeah.
It was very, very small,
Over 24.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
a lot less than 50 something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I always.
We were just going, we went to 52, we maximized it. We can always scale it back.
Right now, the boat ramp is only open to buying like citizens. Right?
Mhm.
Correct.
So would we open it back up? Do we need 52 slots for the citizens? Would it be 70 total then?
No, we would reconvert ball field 4 back into
Parking.
parking that would allow ball field 4 to have its actual own parking lot. So if you have a game there,
Plus
Right.
park parking.
plus park parking, right? So it would solve both of those issues. So the reason we landed on 52 was because what everybody pointed to was the loss of what we had at ball field 4, which was about 41. And when we laid out the design, it got to 52. You could go back and remove one whole row of that, which would take out 28 of those stalls. So you would be 24. You could go as small as 24. So it really just depends on the council. I will say if we chase a state grant, our ability to limit it to Bonney Lake residents probably goes completely away because we're using state funds. And there's already a little bit of an issue with us doing that, but we've been limping it through because of these other issues that we have. So
Yeah, the only reason why we've had to do that was because of public safety, but also we just didn't have any boat trailer parking at all when we built out ballpark 5. So we lost all that parking and then we lost 40 parking spaces. Then we only added 23 or something.
26.
26 to ballpark 4. But now we're going to be losing ballpark 4 also if we're keeping that as a park. This summer, are we still using ballpark 4's parking lot so that? we can-
Only for boat trailers.
And how did that work out last year, having less, as far as public safety and the ability for people to park their trailer?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, we did not have, we didn't have an operational issue. It's more of, how to say this? We did not have an operational issue providing only boat trailer parking for Bonney Lake residents.
Right. But
But
it's a
you,
public park.
you will get the complaints from the rest of the lake taps,
Mhm.
people that they can't access the boat launch.
Right.
Once again, that is a policy call.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, but then we're also looking at, so just so this study here is 399,000.
No, this isn't the study. This is the engineering
The
design
engineering
plans.
Design, so we're actually gonna do this, but then we're looking at possibly millions of dollars for a parking lot.
It could, yeah, I mean, I don't know the total construction cost, but to get to 52, there's some significant grading that has to occur to make that area work.
For a free park. But we will be charging for parking and we charge for the boat launch. So
Yeah, and you
maybe in 100 years, we can.
Once we,
Repay that.
once we have the construction cost, so I guess there's two ways to look at this. One, I can't tell you what it is because we haven't got to that 30% engineering,
Right.
which is why we split it into two phases. Spending the money on the 30% engineering will allow us to answer those questions better. What's the total construction cost? How long would it take us to recoup it if we were charging for parking? Those answers we could be able to provide.
So we would need to spend basically $120,000 to get those answers.
Yeah. To really have good answers, on
Is
those.
it, is it is it 399 or is that, is the 125 the balance or is it, the expenditure 399?
So what it is 399 is what it takes to go all the way to
Construction.
construction.
Ready to go.
Yeah, and so what we've done is we're gonna stop it halfway through in phase one. So it's split into two phases if you look at your contract.
Mhm.
So you've got the preliminary design phase, which is task 105, and that will get us all the environmental work done. It'll get us the 30% engineering design work done, and also allow us to do a construction estimate that we can use to support grant applications, and that we could.
This one with the teeny tiny.
Yeah, that's the full budget. That's the full budget. Yeah, so the top half is $194,000, which is the preliminary work, and then $154,000 to go all the way to the final phase. It's just, this is something that we have been getting,
Oh, no, it's not.
people have asked us multiple times when we're bringing forward this, so we're bringing it forward.
Thank you for your hard work. This has been really hard,
Well, yeah.
right?
Yes.
This has been super duper.
Mhm.
So the council could scale it, the size of the lot back, which would reduce the construction cost because we won't have to do as much grading work.
So would it, if we did like a gradual increase in the size, would that add a lot of cost to the design and construction?
Yeah, because the real big cost is we have this much area where we could probably do, I think when Parametrics laid it up the first time, what was there, like 30-ish?
Right, 32 or something.
Yeah, and then we said we need to get closer to 42 to 50. And that means going kind of off the edge where there's a slope and kind of regrading the site. So really that part of it was what's really the cost.
We're talking city hall.
Yeah, and kind of
Yeah.
toward that treat area, kind of up into the edge of the wetland buffer.
It doesn't, the site doesn't set itself up for economy of scale to get bigger. It sets it up to go exponential, just because it's kind of it's a hill and then it's part of it's a low area. So if you've ever driven on that back road that goes around, you go down and you go up. So there's a lot of grading that would have to go to get those additional stalls, retaining walls, more asphalt, more stormwater control.
If the council's direction was to just limit it to the existing developed areas, that would reduce the footprint of it. And reduce the grading cost. I don't think it would necessarily reduce the design and engineering cost that much, but it would definitely reduce the construction cost.
So, we're kind of getting low on time here. Was the suggestion to take it to full council or to a workshop at some point?
I would say take it to take it to CDC issues. I don't necessarily think this is a consent agenda item because
Yeah, no, definitely. I know that.
There's-
other
Sure, council members involved when it's very engaged.
there's lots of different things.
So, would we want to put this on the 14th or do we need to move it down to like the 28th?
I would move it to the 14th.
Okay. And so we'll go ahead and put that on, committee council full issues.
CDC issues.
Yeah, there's none.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't see the CDC
Yeah.
necessarily, so should I write that down next to the yes?
Yeah, I'll put CDC right next to the yes.
You put it, it says committee council full issue.
Yeah, committee, okay. So I can circle committee.
Yep.
Okay. All right, so. So we'll go to, let's go ahead and do the Jack because.
Yeah, I think there's not enough time to do the
Yeah.
water things, and we could put
Yeah.
that on the June, the next CDC item.
June 4th.
Yeah, and
June
that,
4th is gonna be a short meeting.
Yeah,
maybe,
so
because-
that's what we have-
Let's do it the next meeting after that.
that's what we have to talk about. So, don't run off yet. One last quick,
I have my device now, I can talk to you.
one last item. As we mentioned before, the Jack is trying to get started and we're supposed to meet quarterly. We'd like to have the first Jack meeting on June 4th, which is a typical CDC night, but starting at 4:30 and going to 5:30 for the Jack, which means we'd have a really truncated CDC meeting. I just wanted to see if the council members are going to be available at 4:30 on
And
the
it would
4th of
be
June.
Let's say that-
It would be here.
Oh.
No, it'd
Oh.
be here.
Yep, 4:30.
Council member.
Yes, I'm available.
And one of the topics will be the next quarterly Jack meetings and dates and times.
What day is that, June?
It's a
It's a
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Tuesday, yeah.
It would be your typical CDC night. Which is why we proposed having CDC be the members of the Jack, so we could and their members are the Public Works Committee, which also meet on Tuesday, so we figured,
That's the 11th.
no,
June 4th.
June 4th. At 4:30.
Good. Okay. So did you have questions still on the utility water? Quick?
No,
No? Okay, so we can take that off. And then just real quick, we had mentioned at a previous meeting that we were talking about adding a Veterans Memorial Park of some kind. And I was able to find out through the Lions Club that there's a company called Next Trex. If we can produce 1,000 pounds of plastic, like plastic bags, plastic bottles, any kind of plastic bread bags, anything, then we can actually have benches made for free, and they'll actually put little plaques on them. Then also, the Blessing Movement has been asked to help with the community court to create some service hours for the people who are getting ready to graduate from their programs, so they can get community service hours by picking up the plastics from like Walmart and Safeway and Fred Meyer, and she would find ways for them to collect the plastic bags and whatnot, because they do have collection areas at most of the grocery stores. So I don't know how that would work, but it's just something to, because we said we wanted a cheap park, and if we can get free benches, then that would be kind of awesome, I think. So, and that's all I have. Jason has the information. He's gonna look into that possibly and then go from there. Does anybody have any comments or questions for open discussion real quick?
Thank you for looking into that. Sounds like a great plan.
Okay, I think we are adjourned.
So
I will